Root Riders have got nerfed multiple times, however are still very strong if used correctly. In this video I'm going to show you how you can still use them to crush bases despite multiple nerfs. Before we start, if you're planning on buying any in-game items, then make sure that you are using a creator code. To support this channel, it would be code RHBB. This also works in other Supercell games, and if you want to see more of my content, my Twitch and TikTok are linked in the description. Feel free to follow me there and also subscribe to this channel to not miss any more content. But now I'd say enough talking, let's continue with the video. And here we have the first hit. On a box base, I would say many people probably know and many people also dislike. You have ground exposed as well as multi-arched towers as well as ricochet cannons in both scatter compartments on the outside, so you cannot go into the monolith nor into the tunnel, which would be like the two most common setups on this base, well, on a box base type I would say. So therefore you need a different plan. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to send our king as well as our barracks into the tunnel to take that out, and are going to go into one of these scattershot compartments. Many of you probably don't even know this setup because, well, it's not very common, you don't see it very often. So therefore, if you have like box bases which have a lot of damage on the outside and you cannot go into the tunnel nor into the monolith, then make sure that you're going to go in from the side and use your king as well as your barracks for the tunnel. Barracks, of course, after the update now incredibly strong. Make sure that you are using your skeleton spells to tank for basically everything, for the enemy queen, for the scattershot, for ricochet cannons, multi-arched towers, anything. You just don't want to drop your skeleton spells inside the range of a multi-inferno tower. You can drop it inside the range of basically anything and it will have value. But do not place it inside the range of a multi-inferno tower. Then you're just basically screwed. You want to have as much value out of your skeleton spells as possible. Your skeleton spells are basically what make and break a root rider attack. You want to tank basically everything which can hurt your your root riders. So therefore use them to counter any splash damage, well, high splash damage like ricochet cannons, multi-arched towers, single inferno towers, expos, enemy heroes, basically anything except for multi-inferno towers, and they're basically good to go, and then your attack will look exactly like this with a huge overkill and a triple in 2 minutes. First we've seen a hit out of the Supercell CWL, and now we're going to hop into the Worlds Qualifier with the open ladder, where we are currently performing very well. And how are we doing that? Exactly, root riders. On this base you have 2 invisibility towers in the core, so you would normally say, okay, root riders are not too good in this base because, well, they go into the core, then both invisibility towers trigger and they just walk past the tunnel and you will get a 1-star. However, a lock launcher can of course trigger all of those invisibility towers. So if you go in from one of the flanks and use a lock launcher, then both invisibility towers are triggered when your root riders, well, are already triggered when your root riders get into the core. The problem on this base, however, was you have a ricochet cannon as well as a multi-arched tower on the outside, which are going to kill one of your flanks. They are going to hurt a lot. Those are probably the most dangerous defenses when you're attacking with root riders. So therefore, I just dropped an overgrowth spell on there. Overgrowth spell has such a good harmony with root rider spam attacks. So just use it to take out a specific part of the base which will kill a flank or just going to hurt your root riders. If you cannot use skeleton spells, etc., just use the overgrowth spell. It can get a lot of value. Now just spam in everything from one of the scatter sites, use your lock launcher, and now you see both invisibility towers are already gone. When your troops reach the core, RC from the outside to support a little, use your skeleton spells to tank for your RC. You want your RC to survive. It's very important that your RC survives. Drop a lot of skeleton spells, freeze spells, whatever you have to support that RC. And of course, very important, you need a hog puppet as well as a haste vial, of course. Also, the standard equipment like a royal shield as well as the royal gem are incredibly strong. However, this combination together with Root Weather Spam is just unstoppable. Your RC can get so much more value, especially with the haste vial. The Hawk Riders can tank, they can take out defenses, etc. So the hit in the end got relatively close. The time, of course, we're playing on time in the Worlds qualifier, was not too good, but still, the base was, I would say, relatively hard. It wasn't a very easy base, yet you had like 2 single Inferno Towers, or even 3, I don't remember. But you had like flanks which are going to kill your Root Riders as well as your Witches support troops. You have 2 invisibility towers, but with this exact setup you are going to have no problem against invisibility towers anti-2-star bases. So just remember, if you have 2 invisibility towers near the town hall in the core, use a log launcher to trigger both of those, send in your troops to the core, maybe use an overgrowth spell to take out a specific part of the base, and then you're good to go. Next attack, and here we have this wonderful diamond/teaser base. And here we actually go from the opposite side of the town hall. We do not go into the town hall, we go from the opposite side together with a barracks. Barracks, of course, is probably right now the best siege machine to use with Root Weather Spam, since of course it got so incredibly strong after in the last update with the 2 P.E.K.K.A buff, etc. So we use the siege machine at 12 o'clock to funnel, and then we just spam in everything from the side. Use a few skeleton spells again to tank, use a headhunter for the enemy queen, so that is already gone relatively quickly. Use your raid spell to get your troops through the damage as quickly as possible. Use your freeze spells to protect everything. Use the warden ability when there's the most damage on your Root Riders. And now again we have here behind the town hall 2 single Inferno Towers as well as 2 multi-archer towers. You can tank them very nicely with a little bit of skeleton spells. So use some skeleton spells, use some free spells if necessary, and then you can already see this base is gone. It's completely gone. Within 1 minute 30 you have completely destroyed a maxed out Tunnel 16 base, and that is the power of Root Riders. And this is not a bad base, this is a good clan in the World Championship. So well, that shows relatively well how strong Root Riders still are despite 2 nerfs. So if used correctly, you can still have a lot of success with Root Riders. Army, of course, is shared in the description. I have got a small Legends League army for you there, which you can use. You can fluctuate around a little bit. Don't always use the exact army composition. Change around a bit. Here and there you need a different amount of free spells, skeleton spells, sometimes you need overgrowth spells. Just play around a little bit. But the army I'm going to send in the description is a relatively good concept which you can build around. Last attack, and here we again have a anti-2-star base, but this time with 2 poison towers. Again, 3 single Inferno Towers, so it basically screams that it's going to go down with Root Riders. You use your skeleton spells again to tank. You will have a lot of skeleton spell value on this base. For example, tanking a ricochet cannon, multi-archer tower, single Inferno tower, scatter shot, everything. Your skeleton spell will always have value when you're playing against a base with 3 single Inferno Towers. Then it doesn't matter where you drop it. Inside the range of any Inferno Towers doesn't matter. It is always going to have some value. This time together with a Log Launcher just to get through the main damage a little bit quicker. Log Launcher, of course, does a ton of damage. Of course, probably with a Barracks it would have also worked in this base, but I chose a Log Launcher just because it works so well on this specific anti-2-star base, or probably anti-2-star bases in general. An anti-2-star base's Log Launcher can do a lot of work, for example, taking out the enemy clan castle, damaging the town hall, taking out spell towers, damaging buildings, etc. So an anti-2-star base in most scenarios, I would say use a Log Launcher instead. In your siege machine, of course, you're always going to have 2 Yetis. If you're using a barracks, you're always going to have 2 Yetis with a little bit of cleanup whatsoever. If you're using a Log Launcher, I would say a Yeti together with an E-Titan is probably the best choice. And before I'm even done explaining, the hit is already over. It is so incredibly strong and so incredibly quick. 1 minute 30 again and the base is completely gone. I don't even have enough time to explain the hint. That is how strong Root Riders currently still are. Despite they have already been nerfed 2 times, not once, 2 times, and probably there's more to come. But if you want to order any bases which can actually defend routers, then take a look at our website and Discord server, they are linked in the description. And with that, I would say see you guys next week with the next video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.